Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Marcus Diantoro. It's very wonderful presentation, and thank you for Associate Professor Nandang Mufti. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll proceed to the last keynote speech on industrial sharing session that will be delivered by Mr. Yohanes Bambang Sunaryo. He is the head of solar cell community here in Indonesia. And we're going to invite Dr. Herlin Pujiarti as the moderator. Well, Ibu Herlin, over to you.
For Ms. Rahmati. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Industrial Sharing Session. I'm a moderator in this session. In this session, we will discussing about the solar cell and the implementation of solar cell in Indonesia with Mr. Yohanes Bambang Sunaryo. He is head of solar cell community of Indonesia. Hello, Mr. Yohanes.
Halo, Ibu. Yes,
okay.
Ibu.
Selamat pagi, Bapak. Thank you very much for your joining the I-CoRE 2021. Okay, before we proceed this presentation, let's see the curriculum vitae of Mr. Yohanes Bambang Sunaryo. Thank you. So in this morning, Mr. Yohanes will deliver the presentation with the title of Indonesia 100% Renewable Energy by Solar Cell in 2060. Is it possible? Okay, Mr. Yohanes, you have 30 minutes for presentation and then 10 minutes for question and answer. So Mr. Yohanes, time is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for the time, and thank you very much for all participants and for the organizing committee to provide this opportunity. I would like to present probably organizing committee can help to present my slide. I would like only a few slides actually that to bring our attention. Just a minute. Okay, I will try to talk a little bit. Firstly, we know currently in Indonesia that the energy consumption per capita is still low compared to, let's say, neighboring countries or even another country in Asian region. As we know that by the figure of 2020, we are at about 270 terawatt-hour energy consumption annually. Or if we talk about per capita, is roughly about 1 megawatt-hour. So that 1 megawatt-hour is 1,000 kilowatt-hour. Is the average of energy consumption of Indonesian people for a year. While developing countries ranging from, let's say, 4 megawatt-hour up to probably 15 to 16 megawatt-hour per capita per year for the most advanced countries. For other Asian countries like Malaysia is roughly about 4 million or 4 megawatt-hour per capita per year. So if the government aim to have, let's say, because we want to be as advanced as, let's say, Malaysia today in, I don't know, 10, 20 years time. So if we imagine or if we expect that consumption or national consumption will be in the level of 4 megawatt hour per year per capita, while the population or our population will increase to, as predicted by some figures, to be about 325 million population a year. So that our consumption is expected, let's say 325 million multiplied by 4 million. So it's about 1,300 terawatt hour a year. Okay. What does this mean? The 1,003 megawatt hour or 1,300 terawatt hour a year. Okay, next. 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 This is all only in illustration about the solar PV installation. Next. I will go back to that figure later. Next. 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 Okay, just a minute. Okay, and that's the figures I was talking about, that by 2021 or today, we are at the level of 276 terawatt hour annual electricity generation. That means equal to annual electricity consumption, because at any given time, generation have to be equal to consumption. There's no other way. So in 2055 to 2016, that is the expectation, that if we want the annual electricity to become at least 4 megawatt hour, then we have to generate 1,300 terawatt hour. The question is that possible, this 1,300 terawatt hour be generated by solar power in Indonesia? And how much? Okay, we will see on the next slide that in Indonesia, the previous slide, previous, okay, next. Probably on the next. Okay, we have maps in Indonesia that on average our PV specific output is about 1,300 watt hour for every watt peak of installed PV in Indonesia. The ranging actual figure probably from 1,000 to some area they reach up to 2,000 actually. But as general consensus, we can use between 1,300 to 1,500 watt hour for every watt peak installed. So based on that figure, then we map of the land in Indonesia that are available. The IESR or Institute of Essential Service Reform have mapped that the available land based on KLHK map or lingkungan hidup KLHK map, that the capacity or that the solar potential in Indonesia is ranging from, let's say, 3.4 gigawatt to almost 20,000 gigawatt peak. That is based on some assumption, of course, and some scenario. One probably including some area that cannot be installed, or some area that excluded. That's basically the figures is all based on area available And this area available mainly three categories. That is the settlement area, the savanna, and the bare land. That's only from this. So forests, water bodies, and so on is not considered on this potential. So it's only in this three category, and some of them is excluded one of another. So based on this calculation, that our solar potential is about 3.4 up to 9,800 gigawatt peak, 3,400 gigawatt up to 9,800. At the same time, P3 TEK ESDM, this is our official Ministry of Energy Research and Development, calculated as well that our potential, solar potential in Indonesia based on 2017 map is 3,900 gigawatt peak. Based on similar method, that is considering only settlement area, savanna, and bare land. There's some question that why on previous statement that our solar potential is only about 270 gigawatt peak. That is described on the National Energy Planning of 2016 or RUEN, that mentioned that Indonesia solar potential is only 207 gigawatt peak, 207. Based on P3 TEK ESDM, that figure is actually the same method and methodology and the same data that was used to calculate this based on map of 2017. However, they have applied the threshold value that only for area above 5 kilowatt hour per meter square per day that they consider as solar potential. That's basically a wrong calculation in the sense that Indonesia mostly is below, let's say, 4.5 or 4.8. Most area is between 3.5 to 4.5. But why they put the threshold at 5 kilowatt hour per square meter per day? That's the question. But anyway, they would like to revise or recalculate that potential, and what the result is that they have 3,900 gigawatt peak solar potential after that recalculation. Okay, next. That's another calculation as well that done by IESR based on, let's say, technical potential from the 34 province. The approach is similar, that they calculate what is the available roof area in that region, roof of the houses. That is only residential houses. They're not considered yet commercial and industrial areas or even airports or even publics. They still use only residential. Next. And what they found is that the capacity is basically ranging from 34 gigawatt up to 116 gigawatt based on that residential, and based on the PLN customer that subscribe of PLN at 1,300 VA and above. And we know that the majority of PLN subscriber is below 1,300. That's about 45 million subscribers subscribe at 450 VA and 900 VA, which is categorized as subsidized customer with the lower tariff. And if we calculate as well the potential of this 45 million plus subscriber of subsidized, then we'll have next about 655 next gigawatt of solar potential. So if we are considering that we require, let's say, 1,000 gigawatt peak of solar capacity, is that very much possible in order to fulfill or to generate 1,300 terawatt hour annual energy capacity? What is consequences of, let's say, building 1,000 gigawatt peak of solar across Indonesia? That's let's say 70% or 655 or more on the residential area. That means that we will have, let's say, very distributed the solar generation, and then we will have very much requirement of energy storage that probably already mentioned or already covered by previous keynote speaker, the availability of a battery and supercapacitor, or even what they call super cap battery. That is a good thing that will basically make the 100% renewable energy for Indonesia is very possible, even without, let's say, base load power plant. If you consider that today base load power plant like coal power plant, like gas power plant, and any other power plant, and based on this simple calculation, 1,300 terawatt hour itself can be easily generated by solar cell or solar power that distributed across, whether in solar residential or probably some in solar farm or large solar farm. Next. That's basically the main idea that I want to ask or to get attention from the audience, that yes, solar alone can power Indonesia. How about the another energy source of energy power plant? Of course, since solar alone can provide all other for all requirement, but still needs storage, then the best approach probably combine that solar and hydro, geothermal, and of course wind, because wind itself, our potential is calculated at about 300 gigawatt peak of 300 gigawatt of solar, both onshore and offshore. This based on P3 TAK ESM as well. Then they have the latest calculation based on their focus group discussion. They have almost 300 gigawatt onshore and offshore solar. So in that sense, 100% renewable is very much possible. And the next question, 100% renewable from solar is possible too, but of course, practically we have to cooperate with another source, and then it's combination that all 100% renewable is very much possible. Thank you for the time given, and I give back the time to moderator. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Yohanes for a nice presentation. So it's time to question and answer session. So we still have 15 minutes for question and answer. So please, all participants to question for this session. You can raise hand or write down in the chat room. Okay. Please, okay, Mr. Nandang Mufti, please.
Halo, Pak Yohanes.
Hello, Pak Nandang. Good morning for you. Nice to see you.
Invite video in Facebook, also in WhatsApp. Okay, my question is very interesting. My question is what about the future of this solar rooftop in Indonesia? It will be a large community, and is it possible to have a lower price? In your opinion, what is your opinion?
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Pak Nandang.
Yeah.
As of today, as you know, that solar cost actually already reaching the grid parity, probably already a few years back. As you know, that the lowest, let's say, solar by contract of PLN, that is the Chirata is roughly 5.8 cent per watt hour, 5.8 cent US dollar per kilowatt hour. That's actually today, even in Indonesia, standard is already lower than coal, because as you know that coal today is cost more than $200 per metric ton. That is the actual price. However, our government decided to do, let's say, intervention and to make it lower. Then that's what they call it, the DMO, the domestic market obligation. So basically, our coal price is subsidized. So this is Indonesia is one of the rare country in the world that still subsidize fossil fuel instead of subsidize renewable energy. So, but it is all for the people anyway. So we just accept it. So in the future, in our opinion, there's two things that we want to make aware of people. First, that with the lower price of solar and ecosystem of solar, it means that only solar module itself, but probably the cost of storage mainly, because as you know now, the cost of storage is based on our calculation is still roughly about 1,000 rupees per kilowatt hour per cycle. That's in the lowest cost of battery available today. It's 1,000 rupees. And the battery will be cost effective, replacing any other cost of storage in Indonesia, probably have to be lower than, let's say, 500 rupees per kilowatt hour per cycle. I mean that half of the current price. And if that happen, then there's two possibility. One, people may decide, okay, I want to buy my battery as large as possible to use my own, then I will be off grid. Okay, then
Yes.
if this happen, that basically we are initiating what they call spiral of debt. Spiral of debt means that utility is losing a customer, because more and more people decided, okay, I will put as much possible panel in my house, in my roof, and I put battery, and I don't care what the price of electricity anymore. That can initiate what they call spiral of debt, that make what they call a stranded asset within utility, because if they lose customer, I mean that customer less, and then they have to divide, let's say, all the cost to less customer, mean then the price will increase. And if the price will increase, then will be more and more customer will decide to go off grid. That's the initial what they call a spiral of debt. More and more customer go off grid, then of course less customer, and then because the cost is almost the same, transmission line still cost the same, generating cost still of the same, because they have to pay what they call TOP, take or pay, and so on. So the price will increase again, and if the price will increase again, more people will go off grid. That's just again and up to a time that basically the thing will be collapsed completely. So, but of course we don't want this happen. We want that people still stay on grid, and although they already put the solar panel on the roof, but still on grid, then we can manage them properly with the distributed storage or with the central storage, or even we should make pump hydro storage. That, as you know, that Upper Chisokan is start doing some activity again after World Bank agreed to finance last month. So this is good news for renewable energy in Indonesia. So our projection in the future is that solar will be a lot cheaper and more popular in Indonesia, and beware that the phenomena of spiral of death. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe one a small question. If already now that's I don't know. Maybe in your knowledge, that is it in on grid that now is for the PLNs is had 100% price back to the if we have more electricity to generate to the PLN, because in on grid we can produce solar panel and send to the PLN, for example. We have more energy. Can PLN like buy 100% price for that or not? Thank you.
Okay, to answer this question, we have to remember that last month, Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources just released, also is not officially out from presidential office yet, that the ministerial decree number 26 of 2021, that the use of the solar PV for grid customer, that they put some, let's say, improvement that previously is only about 65%. Every kilowatt hour we send to the grid will be considered or calculated to offset our use from PLN or of night use, let's say, and now it become 100%. And the second, that if previously only giving 3 months of expiration, now become 6 months. These two things is good thing, but it is necessary or required in order people to stay on grid. Otherwise, what happened, like previous one, if they put only 65%, as I mentioned before, that people will prefer, okay, rather than they only, let's say, award 65% of our energy, then I better put it on the battery, because battery can, let's say, battery efficiency is something about 85 to 90%. So I get more reward from battery rather than from PLN. So better I go off grid. That's the thing. So the 100% of KWH export against kilowatt hour import is required, in my opinion, to, let's say, to attract people stay on grid. Otherwise, if people, more and more people go off grid, then they will initiate spiral of death. That is very dangerous for the utility. Thank you, Pak.
Okay, thank you very much for a nice answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Nandang and Mr. Yohanes for the answer. Okay, for the next question is from Professor Markus Diantoro.
Thank you, Bu Erlin. Pak Yohanes, I have a very short questions. I just want to know about the regulation. What is, are there any regulation regarding about the private sectors could be or not in the renewable energy production? As we know that from our previous era, that for mining oil, the private sector is very, very hard to involve in this, the distribution as well as the production. What about the, let's say, solar energy or maybe any other renewable energy? Is it possible for the private can be involved in that kind of sectors? Thank you, Pak Yohanes.
Okay, Professor Marcus, thank you for very nice question. We have two area here. Basically, first is in Indonesia, we have what they call monopoly on the electricity distribution. That unlike in another country that have already deregulated market, we have still a monopolistic market. So basically, all of Indonesia is under, let's say, what they call territorial of PLN. However, there are some, let's say, about 50 or 58 what they call WILUS, wilayah usaha. That's a special region that awarded to certain private company that they can operate, that they can sell, that they can distribute the electricity to their customer. So, but in general, the right to sell and to distribute the electricity is on PLN. However, for the generation side, we already follow what they call a deregulated market, mean that there's beside PLN, there's already what they call IPP, independent power producer. And then they can produce electricity and sell to market, sorry, sell to PLN, and from PLN they distribute it and sell to market. That's the principle like that. For the special region or special area permit, that what we call wilayah khusus, of course they can generate their own, then they can distribute it their own on their area, and they can sell it on their customer. That is what on specific WILUS, wilayah usaha, or special permit. For other companies that want to sell electricity to generate it, that's still open, of course. However, this, of course, have to be in coordination with PLN. For another type of generation that can be used or will be used for their own consumption, they have what they call it for own consumption. So if, let's say, I have a large factory that require 100 megawatt of electricity, and I able to generate, let's say, 60% of them, 60 megawatt, but I still need 40 megawatt, then I can apply to PLN that, oh, I can subscribe for 40 megawatt electricity from PLN and 60 megawatt from our own. But this is, of course, have a special permit required from Minister of Energy. So to answer your question, basically, renewable energy is treated as equal to any other type of power plant. So in order to sell to the people, then have to sell it through the PLN or through the special permit holder, and then of course with specific price, either by bidding or by special agreement. And we cannot sell directly, even if to our neighbors, to our friend next door. It's legally is not possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yohanes. Thank you, Pak Elin.
Okay, thank you very much for Marcus and Mr. Yohanes. We still have remaining time, so there is one more question in the chat room. For Mr. Yohanes, I want to ask how to optimize the potential of solar power in Indonesia, which incidentally is a two-season country. Okay, Mr. Yohanes.
Okay, fine. That's mean that instead of 4 season like in Northern Hemisphere or Southern Hemisphere, we are basically we more likely to call ourselves as a single season. We always have sun every year. All the month of the year we have almost. The difference between, let's say, rainy season and the summer season is basically not more than 20-30% on average. However, during the rainy season, probably 1, 2, or 3 days, we will have only, let's say, 1 hour or 1.5 hour sun hours. We call it sun hours, compared to, let's say, 3.5 hours on average for the summer session, up to 4 hours. So in general, variation between summer and rainy season is not that big. So actually for Indonesia, we don't need what they call long-term storage. What we need is only shift load. So how to store our energy during the night and to be used, how to store energy during the day and to be used during the night. That's mainly the requirement of the storage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Yohanes. So I think time's up and it's time to giving certificate from I-CoRE 2021 for Mr. Yohanes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Yohanes, we can take a picture. This one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think time's up. Thank you very much for your joining I-CoRE 2021, for your sharing knowledge and so interesting discussion with us. See you in the next occasion, and good morning, Mr. Yohanes.
Thank you.
And okay, you're welcome, Mr. Yohanes, and I will go back to Mr. Rahmati as the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yohanes, for a very wonderful presentation and engaging discussion. And thank you so much for the moderator, Ibu Herlin. Well, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last session in this 2 days I-CoRE. So this 2 days, we've listened to 7 presentations of the keynote speakers, and we've learned a lot from over than 90 parallel papers. And once again, thank you so much for the keynote speakers, Professor Timotheus Pasang, Professor Sugosi Mazu, Professor Yunus Ali Channel, Professor Guo Jion Hong, Professor Hadi Nur, Mr. Yohanes Bambang Sunaryo, and Professor Marcus Diantoro, and all of the parallel presenters. Thank you so much. We're really grateful for your shared knowledge and expertise. We've learned a lot from that. And for the participants, thank you so much for your unwavering attention in this 2 days conference. Thank you so much for the committee for your hard work. Thank you to Universitas Negeri Malang, University Technology Malaysia, and all the sponsors for the support. And let's have a big hand for all of us, everyone. Well, people say gaining knowledge is the first step to wisdom, and sharing it is the first step to humanity. So let's keep gaining and sharing knowledge, be wiser and humbler. Well, one last pantun here from me. 6 minus 2 equals 4. Everybody, see you in the next I-CoRE. See you in the next I-CoRE 2023. Hopefully the pandemic will end soon so we can meet here in Malang. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.